Hi everyone, David here from daviddumaiaudio.com, and in this video I want to share with you guys my top sound design tools that I use very often, if not every day, as part of my work. So I'm going to split this video up into two parts. One will be like insert effects, and then the other part will be like VSTs, synths, samplers, other things like that. So yeah, why don't we jump in, and I will start right away with the insert plugins that I probably use the most. So why don't we start here? I'll start with this sound that I have loaded inside of Cubase. So this is a sound I created myself, and it's kind of just a whoosh sound. I put here kind of like a futuristic car kind of sound. Right, so it sounds kind of cool. So, all right, so my first plugin that I use relatively often is Trash by Isotope. So I'll usually add this whenever I want to add kind of density or grit or something to a sound. It's just really easy to change the sound. Well, I mean, you can add it, do something very light. Say you want to do a bit of saturation like this. And you can bring down the mix. And then you can also just completely change the sound if you add some like crazy distortion or something like. The thing that's also great about this plugin is that it comes with a whole bunch of presets. So, I mean, everything from subtle, percussive, heavy. So if you do like something crazy like this, right? So you can just really mess up your sound, which is really cool. All right, so that is the first plugin that I use pretty often as part of my work. The next plugin is another kind of distortion saturation plugin, and this one is Spectre by Waves Factory. This one's a bit less intense than Trash, but works just as effectively. Usually, so when you load it, it always comes to it comes loaded at 50% your mix. So this is the mix knob here that I'm playing with in the bottom here, and it starts at 50%. I mean, you could go to 100. I rarely do. I usually just leave it at 50%, and then you have like a bunch of different kind of saturations you can use here. I normally leave mine on solid, just the default, but I mean, it depends on the effect that you want to create. You can do some other stuff, and then yeah, I'll normally just like to boost the bass, or if you've seen some of my other videos, I also like to boost kind of the mids here just to add density to the sound. So right, and then of course you can also add a lot of bass. Right, so it's a lot more subtle, and of course you can do some, like I said, change it up if you want to add some different effects to each of the different bands. They'll have their own. You can choose different types of saturation per band, which is cool. Right, so this is the next one I like to use, and that I use pretty often just to kind of shape my sound the way I want it to be. The next one is an EQ, and it's nothing too special, but this is just something that's part of my everyday work whenever I'm working with sounds and I'm shaping stuff together, and whenever I want things to blend together, I'll have it. Oftentimes I'll start with something simple, like if there's too much bass, I'll just put a low shelf to cut out the bass. If there's too much highs, I'll just cut off the highs, which is nice here that you can kind of choose whatever kind of curve you want. So I can do that here and do that, and yeah, so it's just something that I use very often, and that is why this is here. Nothing too crazy, of course. Again, then you can do peaks and remove stuff. Just your regular EQ, but something I use every day. All right, the next one I kind of cheated a bit because it's kind of a 3-in-1, and it's the Sound Design Bundle by Krotos Audio, and they have 3 kind of plugins that come as part of the of that pack. One is Dehumanizer, the other is Reformer Pro, and then the third is Weaponizer. I'm only going to show Dehumanizer and Reformer Pro here just really quickly, just to kind of show you what it is. But basically, this is to make kind of like monster sounds. So I like to plug it in. If I ever have to do monster sounds, I'll plug in like my microphone, and I'll put in just myself screaming or yelling or doing whatever crazy sounds with my mouth, and then I can go ahead and like build up my own patches and put things together the way I want it to be to make whatever sound I'm trying to get. So it's really kind of flexible because you can do you can just drop modules that you want here, pitch shifting modules, and then you can connect them however you want. So you can make multiple links. You can make them go like that. I can do one like that. I can add another one here, go like that. So you can create kind of these complex change and complex signals in this way. So it's pretty cool the way it works. So yeah, normally I use that for voice. You can also use it for like stuff like this, right? But generally I just use it for voice, but yeah. And finally we have a Reformer Pro here. And this thing is cool because you can create, what it is basically is your, it's a library or a plugin that you use for Foley. So for example, I can load a few different libraries. So right now it's Electric Pro, there's Black Leopard Pro, and what it'll do is this library here, if I can click on it, nope, not that. Here we go. So now I can see all the samples that are a part of this library, and what it'll do is whatever audio is playing, it'll trigger parts of or the whole sample of the files that are in this library. Right, so it's cool right now because it's playing some different stuff, but it plays, it chooses which samples to play based on the velocity, like how loud the file is, how the pitch of the file. So it's really cool because then you can like use your mouth or like your voice to trigger samples. You can blend it in between different libraries, and it's anyways, it's really powerful. And you can also create your own libraries, which is cool here. So you can import your own sounds and stuff, and then create your own dynamic sounds based on how you're performing it, either through your voice or based on other audio that you might have inside your DAW. So really powerful stuff. I don't use it as often as currently, but if I was working on projects, I would. When I'm not working on projects or when I'm doing my own stuff, then I don't use it. I don't use it too much, but I mean, it just depends. It's kind of more of a focused tool, but it's very useful. All right, and the last tool here, this is a relatively new one in my arsenal, but I mean, I'm using this so much, and it's been so helpful for me. And it's Recenter by Boom Library, and basically what it does is it centers the audio source so that if it ever moves or shifts within your stereo field, it'll just keep it at the center. So I'll play this sample here that I have without it on, so you can hear how it moves from side to side. Right, so you can hear that this audio file, it's definitely not centered. Like you can hear it a bit on the right speaker, a bit on the left speaker. And by the way, I should say, like if you're not listening to this on headphones or on speakers, you won't be able to tell what this is doing. But basically, yeah, so the audio file right now is kind of all over the place in the stereo field. And so when I put it on, what it's going to do is it's going to bring it right to the center. So I'm going to click multiband here just so it makes it a bit more accurate. So you'll notice now everything's right in the center. You don't have any more of like specific sounds coming out the right speaker or coming out the left speaker. You still have the stereo width of the sound, which is really cool. So you can still hear it coming out of both speakers, and you can tell that it's not like a center sound, but yeah, so it's cool because it's just coming out the speaker, even though it's keeping that same stereo width. And then what you can do is, if you wanted to, you can tone in the width, bring it in. So it becomes like it's more mono. And you could go all the way to mono if you wanted at 0%. Right, so now the sound's right in front of you. You also have like different settings here, like a mono filter, so anything below 460, or below whatever I set here will be mono. Or the whole thing could be mono. Right, and then I can move the sound to the left or to the right, however I want. So this would be to the left, this to the right. I can even move it past that, which creates this weird kind of stereo effect. Anyways, it's just really flexible and really powerful, especially when you're designing sounds to a game, or if you're doing a redesign, or if you're designing to like cinematics or something like that. Because when you have to place sounds in a as part of a scene, like you have to place it in the stereo field. You have to place it in an area, right? So this just makes it super easy. It's all in one page, and it's just been really useful and helpful for me in the last few weeks that I've had it. All right, so those are my 5 or 6, if you count the Krotos Audio bundle, kind of top plugins as of 2020 that I'm currently using a lot of these daily. So yeah, so now let's move on to the second section of the video where I'll be going over the synths, samplers, VSTs that I use. All right, so the first one for sure, if you see my other videos, I really love S-Layer by Twisted Tools. So this is I don't know what this is considered, but it's basically a sampler, maybe. Anyways, you bring in your own samples. So I guess it's like a sampler. It's a reactor ensemble. You can import your own samples in here, which I always do, and then you can basically randomize a whole bunch of parameters. So you can randomize which sample you're using out of the 127 that you can use. You can randomize the start time, the delay time, like when it's going to start. You can randomize the pitch, the pan, the volume. So there's so many things you can randomize. Plus then there's effects that are built in, there's envelopes, and then you can also route them to external effects. And then I don't normally touch these too much just because I don't really know how they work exactly. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of like other stuff that you can do on this page. So I mean, you can create some really weird stuff. And then you can create like a whole bunch of different, what are called, like, I guess, scenes down here, which are just kind of presets. And then, yeah, so you can just play through different things. Right now I have it on transpose, so I can play across my whole keyboard, like really high or really low. And then I can like really play around and pick a sound that sounds best at the range that it's in. So. Anyways, it's really a powerful plugin. I use this all the time. All right, the next one that I like to use is Whoosh by Tonstorm. This one's powerful because, I mean, whooshes are just always part of sound design, just to add extra whatever it might be, intensity, flare, whatever to any kind of sound. So they're really, I use them very often, so it's nice to have a whoosh and to be able to import your own samples and create your own whooshes. So with this, you can do a lot of different things. You can change, let's see here, like the speed, the distance of the whoosh, how it would sound. So make it sound like it's a bit further away or really close. You can change the symmetry of the whoosh. So right now it's just like nothing at the beginning and it's just a hit, or you can do a little bit at the beginning and just a long tail, or you can do the opposite. All right, so you have a lot of control over the shape and what you're doing here. You can mix the sound, so there's 4 modules, sound sources here. You can mix them all really well, or you can split them up so you can hear, so you really hear the 4 different sound sources. And of course you have a limiter up here, which also affects the sound quite a bit. And this is down here is where all the magic kind of happens. This is where you can import your own sounds right in here. So if you go to user 1 here, I can import 12 sounds, and then you have 4 users. So you can user 2, user 3, and user 4. So here I can import, 12 different sounds for each source. And then you can go in and kind of play around with the size of where you want to source the sound, the size of the granular synthesis here, the cloud. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of stuff you can do with this. So it's really powerful. And of course, if you haven't seen my video, I made a video about Whoosh and kind of creative ways to use it. So maybe I'll put that in the description or maybe in the card or something to check that out. But yeah, great plugin right there. All right, next one is a synth, which is Omnisphere. And this is again, another super powerful synth. You can do so much with this one, and it's especially powerful because not only is it, you can import your own samples and then mess around with that and create sounds with that, but as a synth, you also have like so many modulation pages here. You can create your own custom pages or custom modulation. So I can go in here and add, whatever like this, like that. Let's say that was my modulation. Well, now this is modulation 1 envelope. So now I can go into, let's say, my pitch here. The pitch, modulate, envelope, number 1. And now it's playing that. And I can change the speed. Anyways, it's just really powerful for sound designs and synth sound design. Of course, you have a whole rack of effects that you can use with presets, and there's presets for every rack, for every like whatever preset you use. So Studio EQ, you can go in here, and whoops, I think there's also presets. Yeah, so there's presets for the actual effect. So per effect, so this is a preset for the EQ if I wanted distortion, and you can go here, and there's all these presets for this distortion unit. So it's just really easy to add effects and stuff. And then of course arpeggiator. So it's just really powerful what you can do with this synth. And I mean, there's so much that you can go into it, and I won't go into this video about all the details just because it's such a massive synth to learn. But once you learn it and you know it, it's just super powerful and super flexible. All right, next plugin or VST that I like to use, and this is another sampler. It's Groove Agent in Steinberg. And the reason why I like to use this because this is actually like a drum beat, whatever kind of sampler. So it's really made for like percussion or drum stuff. But I like to use it because I can import my own samples in here, and more importantly, because I find the here, I'll show you guys. I find the envelopes really flexible. So if I go here. All right, so this is my sound. Now I can put it across the keyboard like this. I can go to the sample. I can do continuous, so it plays continuously. Like once it reaches the end, it'll just repeat. I can play alternate, so it'll go forward then backwards. I can play, anyways, I always like to do until release. You can reverse the sound. Anyways, a bunch of stuff you can do. And now once you're in here, I can also mess up with the pitch envelope here. Let's say I'm doing something like this for the pitch. Whoop, like that, and then I can do the amount that I want. So there's just a little bit, I can do a lot. I can reverse it. So just a lot you can do with that. And yeah, and that's just the pitch. And then of course, you know, you can kind of draw whatever it is that you want. And for the filter, something similar, you can do the same thing with the filter here. So I'm just going to do something kind of simple just so it doesn't go too crazy. Just say something like that. I'll turn it on to tube. I'll turn up the distortion, bring down the cutoff, and do the amount. Right, so you get the idea. You can, again, reverse the amount. So it does the reverse of whatever I drew here. So again, really just powerful pitch envelopes here with what you can do. So I just like it for that. And yeah, so it's great for that. All right, and my last but not least that I had picked out for this video is Basshead, and this is basically a sample manager. So I can load all my samples that are on my computer into here, and it basically stores them and files them for me, and then I can just search them up by whatever. So I can just search up, let's say I just want a magic sound, I can just search magic, and then I have everything that I've uploaded in here that might be a magic sound, or that has magic in the name. Right, so I have my own stuff in here. I have other libraries and samples and things I have in here. I can search by like whatever. I can search by keyword. I can search by description, file name. You know, there's so many things you can do. You can search. I don't know like all the details of this because generally what I search is like I just use the description to search, and then that's enough for me. And but yeah, it's really powerful. And yeah. So you can just go in here, and you can also like send stuff directly into Cubase from here, or you can just drag and drop into my session. So again, yeah, so that's what I use for all my sounds. So it's really useful. Anyways, that's it for all the stuff I use. Of course, there's a lot more that I use, and what I also like to do is I don't like to stick to all of these ones that I'm currently using or that I really like or I'm using a lot, because you kind of get stuck in this kind of mode of like thinking about sound design. So a lot of the times, yes, these are they might be my go-tos or things that I like to use, but I'll also be using like a whole bunch of other stuff just to get my head around or like thinking differently about sound design or thinking differently about the approach and how I'm going to approach the sound. So yeah, just something to think about. Like you don't always want to just have your group of plugins or whatever that you know and then nothing else. I don't think that's the best approach, but then again, that's just my opinion. But yeah, I hope you guys find that useful. I'll probably leave a description links in the comment, or sorry, link in the description below for all of these products that I've listed and talked about in this video. I should also say like there's no affiliate or anything like that. These are the things I used. I paid for all of them, and use them regularly, and I just love them. That's why I'm making a video about this. So hopefully that's helpful and useful for you guys. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.